Sometimes miracles don't come with thunder or lightning. They arrive quietly, in the steady rhythm of breath, in the meeting of two souls who were never meant to be apart. What unfolded inside this sanctuary was not just a reunion, it was a living miracle. For 3 long years, Moyo and Nana, two gorillas bound by love, separated by circumstance, carried invisible wounds. Staff hoped science, care, and time would heal them. But what happened on this day went beyond medicine, beyond human hands. It was as if something greater had stepped in. Love itself, refusing to be silenced. And when the cameras finally captured it, the world would understand. Some bonds are not of this earth. They are eternal. They are miraculous. It is the echo of a child torn from his mother, and the silent ache of a mother left without her child. 3 years. That was the stretch of time that carved itself like an open wound between Moyo, a fragile infant gorilla, and Nana, the mother whose arms had been his first sanctuary. Their separation was not born of cruelty, but of survival. Illness had swept through the troop, and for Moyo to live, he had to be taken away. In those early days, he was carried into a new enclosure, watched day and night by caretakers who could heal his body, but never soothe the ache in his soul. Nana remained behind, her once vibrant spirit withering. For the humans who cared for them, it was just a decision. Difficult, but necessary. For the gorillas, it was a fracture in the universe itself. Moyo, small and uncertain, would sit pressed against the glass of his world, eyes always scanning the place where he had last seen his mother. Sometimes his little fingers tapped against the wall, as if knocking on the barrier of fate itself. Sometimes he signed the word Mama, not because trainers had taught him, but because the memory of her was stitched into his being. Nana, on the other side of this cruel divide, became something else entirely. Once she had been strong, nurturing, the heart of her troop. Now she guarded an empty nesting spot like a shrine. No other mother dared place straw there. If they tried, she scattered it. That hollow of earth and straw remained untouched for 3 years. A ghost of what once was. The sanctuary staff debated reunion 1,000 times over. But fear stood in the way. Fear of rejection, of violence, of the brutal truth that sometimes time breaks bonds even blood cannot heal. Yet in the quiet corners of their hearts, the keepers whispered prayers for the day the impossible might be undone. As a mother comforts her child, so will I comfort you. And in that verse lay the hope that even nature could cradle its lost ones once more. It was morning when destiny arrived. Not loud, not dramatic, but still, like the air before a storm. The sun broke through the clouds, painting the sanctuary in a golden hush. Cameras were placed, scientists gathered, and keepers pressed their palms together in trembling anticipation. Moyo was led into the transition pen first. He paused, sniffed the air, and then something ancient stirred in his small body. His head tilted, his hands moved. He signed the word, Mama, and from the other side of the gate, she came. Nana, a shadow, then a figure, then the full presence of the mother who had waited 3 years without hope. She did not rush. She stood there, her chest heaving, her eyes wide and unblinking. A storm of love and grief locked inside. The gate creaked. One keeper dropped a clipboard. Another whispered a prayer into trembling hands. The barrier rose inch by inch, like the lifting of a veil between worlds. Moyo flinched, uncertain, yet his feet carried him forward. Nana stepped back once, then froze, her lip quivering. The moment stretched so thin, time itself seemed afraid to break it. Then, like a spark igniting dry earth, Moyo ran. Not walked, not shuffled, ran. His tiny chest heaved, his breath ragged, and then, just before he collided with her, Nana exhaled a sound so deep, so raw, it seemed to come from the very earth. Her arms opened. Moyo leapt into them, gravity collapsing all distance between what had been lost and what had been found. Their embrace was not a greeting, it was a resurrection. 10 seconds passed, then a minute, then 3. They did not let go. Behind the glass, humans wept openly, some whispering prayers, some unable to breathe. Because in that one moment, the universe stopped. There was no illness, no enclosure, No 3 years of silence. There was only a mother and her son, whole again. Love bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never fails. And here, inside the steel and straw of a sanctuary, love proved itself eternal. The reunion did not fade into silence. It became a song. When Moyo finally stirred, he pressed his small fingers against his mother's chest and let out a series of soft grunts. Rhythmic, tender, almost like a melody remembered from before he was born. Nana replied, not with a call of warning or command, but with a lullaby. Long, low, and full of warmth. She pulled back just enough to cup his face in her massive hand. He met her touch with his own. Then came the miracle no one expected. Moyo signed with clarity beyond his years. Safe. Mama. Missed. In the control room, breaths shattered into sobs. Nana's eyes, dark pools of eternity, locked on him. Slowly, she lifted her hand and signed back. The keepers debated later whether it meant baby or stay. But no debate could capture what happened next. She drew him closer, rocking him gently side to side, as mothers have done since the dawn of time. Together they moved across the enclosure. Shadows braided, spirits fused. When other gorillas approached, Nana's body stiffened, and she released a deep rumble. Not angry, not violent, but commanding. He is mine, it said. Back away. And so they did. Then, as if led by fate itself, Nana guided Moyo to the far edge of the enclosure, to the acacia tree that had been her vigil for 3 years. Beneath it lay the old nest, untouched, sacred. She looked at the nest, then at her son. No words were needed. He climbed into it as if he had never left, pressing his chest into the straw, reclaiming what time had stolen. She curled beside him, pulling straw over his back like a blanket. Cameras clicked, hearts broke, and someone behind the glass began to sob without shame. The behaviorist, after 25 years of studying primates, removed his glasses and whispered, "We underestimated them. They didn't just remember each other. They remembered everything." Can a mother forget the baby at her breast? Though she may forget, I will not forget you. And in that nest, under the acacia, the eternal bond between mother and child roared louder than science, louder than time. Night fell over the sanctuary, but the story did not end. Moyo and Nana ate side by side, their breaths sinking, their movements woven like music. They slept pressed together, the hollow of earth cradling them like a womb reborn. In the control room, no one moved. No one dared switch off the cameras. As the moon rose and shadows thickened, a keeper pointed at the screen and whispered what every trembling heart already knew. That's what love looks like. The reunion could have ended there. A tender nest, a long embrace, a peace rediscovered. But the morning brought more. At dawn, a sound rose into the still air. Low, melodic, patterned. 3 short rumbles, 1 long exhale. Moyo was the one who began it. Still curled into Nana's fur, he hummed the rhythm like a secret prayer. Nana joined him, layering her voice over his, until the sanctuary walls echoed with a mother and son's hymn. It was no longer grief. It was no longer survival. It was a new language. A song born of 3 years of silence. And in that song, the keepers heard more than communication. They heard worship. The wild proclaiming its miracle. Weeping may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And as the sun rose over the sanctuary, painting the sky in gold, the world was reminded that love, in its purest form, is the only language that never dies. It is the echo of memory, the rhythm of love, and the proof that even across years of silence, the heart remembers. Dawn stretches across the sanctuary, mist rolling low against the earth, and in that fragile stillness, Moyo stirs. His chest rises and falls against his mother's fur. And then from deep inside, a sound emerges. 3 short rumbles. 1 long exhale. His body hums with it, his hand resting against his chest like a drummer pressing his palm to the skin of a sacred drum. Nana's eyes snap open instantly. She doesn't move at first. She just listens, her massive chest trembling with recognition. Then, as if carried by an ancient current, she replies. The same pattern, but slower, deeper. fuller. 3 short. 1 long. A mother's answer. Behind the glass, the sanctuary staff lean forward, their eyes wide, their hearts hammering in disbelief. The ethologist whispers through trembling lips, "It's her rhythm." The same bonding code she used with him as an infant. The weight of her words hangs in the room like scripture. For 3 long years they had been apart. 3 long years of silence, grief, and longing. Yet in this one moment Moyo remembers. And not just remembers. He signs. Remember home. Silence floods the observation deck. Even the hum of equipment seems to vanish. Nana lowers her brow, studies her son, and then slowly leans forward until her forehead presses to his. They stay like that, unmoving, their breath weaving together, their vocalizations shifting into unison. Not just hums, not just calls. Music, prayer, harmony. A zookeeper, hand trembling as he grips the camera, mutters, "They're harmonizing." The monitors glow with the vision of mother and son moving as one. Hands rising, lowering, touching chest, mirroring gestures so complex no trainer had ever taught them. This is not mimicry, it is choreography, their own language, a sacred ritual born in the quiet of a nest 3 years ago, now resurrected like a psalm, when their voices peak in perfect unity. Nana raises her arm, fingers spread wide, and Moyo nestles his head into the crook of her shoulder. Then comes the word no one expected, signed with deliberate care. Forever. The ethologist's clipboard crashes to the floor, tears staining her face. She isn't alone. Even the stoic sanctuary director rubs his eyes behind thick glasses, voice breaking. "This isn't instinct," he whispers. "This is intelligence. This is memory. This is love. I will not leave you as orphans. I will come to you." And in that moment, every human present understands. This reunion is not a beginning. It is a continuation of something that never truly ended. From that day forward, their bond becomes a rhythm, a living testimony written in breath, touch, and ritual. Every morning, before the troop awakens, Nana and Moyo repeat their greeting, hands to chest, forehead pressed, low melodic calls in unison, ending always with the sign, safe. Moyo refuses to eat unless Nana feeds him first. Piece by piece, fruit by fruit, he waits for her hand to offer him life, and each bite is received with reverence, as though he honors not just her body, but her sacrifice. She grooms him endlessly, every corner of his body checked, cleaned, healed, as if to erase 3 years of distance. And he lets her, resting under her touch with a peace that brings tears to the keeper's eyes. The healing isn't just his. Nana transforms. Her isolation softens. One afternoon, a young female attempts to groom Moyo. The staff tenses, waiting for rejection. But Nana allows it. She simply watches, then signs a single word. Friend. For the keepers, it is a revelation. For the troop, it is an invitation. For Moyo, it is freedom. 2 are better than 1, for if they fall, one will lift up the other. In that truth, Nana and Moyo rise together, carrying not just their pain, but their healing into the life of the troop. On the 17th day of their reunion, the veterinary team approaches with crates for a routine checkup. Nana senses it instantly. Her massive frame tenses, her eyes sharpen, and she positions herself between Moyo and the looming cage. Her hands fly in repeated signs. No. Stay together. The keepers pause, then retreat, hearts pounding. They postpone the exam indefinitely, unwilling to break what time had finally restored. That evening, the cameras capture something so raw it leaves the staff speechless. Nana signs family, pointing to herself, to Moyo, then looping her arms around him. And without hesitation, Moyo replies, "Always." The words ripple through the sanctuary like holy fire. Staff stare at one another, tears sliding down their cheeks, unable to speak, because what they are witnessing is not animal instinct, it is love. Written in a language deeper than science, deeper than reason, deeper even than words. As for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. And in this sacred house of straw, steel, and sky, family has been redefined forever. Months pass, and though headlines fade, though viral clips lose their place on trending lists, Nana and Moyo's story doesn't end. It deepens. The tentative touches become routine. The hollow grief transforms into peace. Researchers call it familial memory in separated gorillas. But to the staff who walk past the enclosure each night, it's simply family. Their story becomes a teaching tool across the world. Schools show the reunion to children, teaching empathy through their embrace. Therapists use the footage in grief counseling, proof that bonds endure through loss. Parents returning from deployment whisper, "That's me and my son." Yet for Nana and Moyo, the outside world means nothing. Their home is in the rhythm of each other's breath, the weight of an arm across a shoulder, the safety of never being apart again. One evening, a keeper walking past after hours stops dead. There, under the silver light of the moon, Nana and Moyo sit in silence, not sleeping, not eating, simply being. Her arm draped across his back, his hand resting in hers, not as subjects of study, not as symbols of science, but as mother and son, whole again. Behold, I am making all things new. And under the moonlit sky, love, the purest, most unbreakable kind, remakes the world. We just watch. Cameras are set far back outside the enclosure, hidden behind soundproof glass. No scripts, no handlers, no guiding hand. Just the truth. The truth of what unfolds when two gorillas are finally left alone with the space to remember. What those cameras capture doesn't just surprise the sanctuary team. It stuns the filmmakers themselves. Moyo and Nana settle in the old nesting corner beneath the sprawling acacia tree, the very spot where their story began years ago. Together, almost instinctively, they begin weaving straw into a fresh bed. It's not just a nest, it's a symbol, a ritual. Nana lines the edges carefully, while Moyo lowers himself into the center, clutching a slender branch between his feet like a baton. Then it happens, something no one has ever recorded before. Moyo begins signing, not random motions, not gestures born of boredom, but language, a sequence. Safe, mama, stay, love. Nana freezes, watching, then she responds with her own signs. Baby, home, forever. The exchange is rhythmic, patterned, almost like poetry carried in their hands. They repeat it twice, then a third time. And with that, they lean forward, press their foreheads together, and hold the final sign. Forever. The crew stays silent. No narration, no words could possibly add to what is unfolding. Later, this raw sequence will become the emotional climax of the documentary, left unspoken, because sometimes the moment itself says everything. That same week, the sanctuary holds a quiet event. No press, no visitors, just the staff who had stood by Nana in her grief and who had raised Moyo through uncertainty. They gather outside the enclosure, under the shade where the pair now rests side by side. A whiteboard stands nearby with a simple message scrawled across it. 3 years apart, 3 minutes to reunite, a lifetime of love to restore. The crowd falls into silence as they watch. Finally, a longtime keeper whispers, voice trembling, they never forgot. Not each other, not what they had, not what they lost. Another staff member adds quietly, almost to themselves, we thought we'd be the ones to heal them, but the truth is, they healed us. That evening, as the sanctuary begins to close, Moyo drifts toward the far side of the enclosure. He presses his massive hand against the glass wall that leads to the keeper's exit. On the other side, a young intern notices, nervous, uncertain. She slowly lifts her hand and mirrors the gesture. Moyo doesn't move. He doesn't sign, but his deep eyes stay fixed on hers, holding her there in a still, eternal moment. Then, at last, he turns and walks back to Nana. Because home isn't a place, it's a presence. And for Moyo and Nana, that presence had never truly vanished. Some say animals live only in the moment, that they don't remember, that they don't feel as deeply as we do. But Moyo and Nana prove otherwise. 3 years apart couldn't break their bond. Time didn't erase their love, and silence could never end their story. In that moment of reunion, they didn't just remember each other, they remembered everything. If this story moved you, even just a little, Let us know in the comments below. Do you believe animals can feel love the way humans do? Have you ever witnessed a bond this strong? Tap like if you cried, smiled, or just sat in stunned silence. And don't forget to subscribe for more true, unbelievable animal stories that prove one thing above all: love never forgets.